Hello and welcome to my channel In Search of Wonder. My name is Anne and this is my weekly reading vlog. This is my coffee. This is my weekly reading vlog. Okay, it's Thursday evening already. Thursday evening. And I have not yet started this weekly vlog, so it's not going to be much of a vlog, honestly. And I am going to start it not with a bookish thing, although I do have bookish things to report on. But I am taking my moment here because we have a free evening and I'm going to get my hair cut. It's been a long time since I've actually had my hair cut at a salon because for a long time I've just had this like really basic cut that I just do for myself at home. But I want to cut it. It's just getting too long and I'm too nervous to cut too much more myself than like, you know, this much at a time, and it's just getting too long. So I want to go and chop off a couple inches and get like a bob, like a neck length bob cut. So we'll see what happens, how it looks after that. My hair is so thin and fine, like, yeah. Anyways, we'll see what happens. So this is the before. Here we are, the after. I love it when my hair gets cut and it feels like so springy and bouncy. Yay! Now it's a little bit like flat because she didn't do like the whole wash and blow dry. So hopefully when I wash it and blow dry myself, I have a little more lift, but it already just feels bouncier because it's shorter. All right. That was my adventure for today. I will make a clip later today about what I've been up to reading wise. But now, off to go run a couple errands and then go home and eat some dinner. Later the same day. So, last night, I finally finished reading Sense and Sensibility. Only took me almost the entire month of February, but I did it. And this was probably my best reading of it. I don't really much remember the first time I read it. The second time I read it was 2 years ago. And I remember thinking that it was, it moved very slowly and was not as funny and as some of Austen's other books. And I don't know, heavy isn't the right word, but the subject matter was just too, heavy is the only word coming to mind. It wasn't as full of humor as some of Austen's other books, although there is some humor. There's her trademark irony and her wit, of course, but it's just the situations aren't amusing. There's a lot more, what's the word, gravitas to everything, and it has a much more serious tone overall. I guess that makes sense. Probably the best way to put it. And I think all of that's true, but I enjoyed that more this time around. And I was much more engrossed in the story. It may be because I took my time reading it. And when I got to volume 3, in particular, it's written in 3 volumes. That one was like every chapter, there was something new and dramatic happening. And it was very intense emotionally. There was a lot going on in that regard. And like all of the threads of the story were being wrapped up. So that just kept me reading. And I wanted to read more all the way up until the very end. And so as far as enjoyment level goes, it was definitely full on 5 stars for me this time around. Absolutely. It's still probably not like my favorite Austen novel for a variety of reasons, but it was very good. I will have to do a deep thoughts, like deeper dive and get a little bit more into my thoughts about it and the things that I learned from this being the annotated version, just my thoughts along the lines of the characters and the storyline and the plot and everything, which this one has some mildly controversial elements to it that have people divided in the Austen fan community. So I'll talk more about that in another video, I think, more at length. I started reading And Then There Were None by Agatha Christie, and just now I finished the first chapter or two where we've been introduced to all of the characters, and now we're getting into the setting of the story, so I haven't gotten very far. But that's going to be my Gothic novel for my February Reading the Classics challenge. I also have to finish the one I was reading with my sister that my sister got me, the Rural Diaries, which I am, I think, more than halfway through that one. I'm giving myself until Sunday to finish all of my February stuff. And if it goes a little bit past that, that's fine. Because, you know, normally a month has like 30 days and 28 days is just not enough to read all of these things, especially the way my month has gone. If my month had gone differently, then I would have been able to finish all of it, but it didn't. So I need to finish, and then we're done. 12 Ways Your Phone is Changing You, the Royal Diaries, and the Karen Witemeyer one, If the Boot Fits. And as far as by this weekend, I need to have Royal Diaries done for sure. I would like to have, and then we're done as well. I don't know about If the Boot Fits, but that will be a quick read in any case whenever I can squeeze it in. I took a break from Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell, but I will be picking that back up again once I have finished these other things. And I'll be picking that back up again. And then I will be next week ready to jump into my March reading also. So I'll be able to get that started. So that is what I've got going on now and my plans for the near and immediate future. And that's all for now. Hello, it is Saturday morning and it is time for me to wrap up this vlog, which hasn't been very long. So that's good because I think I will also just include my February wrap up here, which also will not be very long. Let's get started with wrapping up this week first. Also, I have a very busy day today, so I don't know when I will get this edited. Warning, there may not be a great deal of editing that happens. So there might be there might be coughing, there might be stumbling over words. Apologies. First of all, in addition to finishing Sense and Sensibility, last night I finished reading the Rural Diaries. And I will not say too much about this because I'm going to make a separate vlog video of that, and it will be posting probably at some point this week, wrapping up my February reading challenge with my sister, reading like her. So this was fun. It was a fun read. I enjoyed it overall. That's the sum up. I guess I give it 3.5 stars. It was good. I recommend it for anyone who enjoys memoirs, first of all, who enjoys celebrity memoirs, secondly, and who enjoys like pioneer woman style of memoirs about homesteading, farming, setting up a farm life, all of that kind of stuff. That I enjoyed that part very much. And also there's a strong sense of community here in this story, in the community that they get themselves really grafted into during the course of this story. So that was a very enjoyable aspect as well. I will give a content warning for this. There is definitely a great deal of cussing. There's basically every possible variation of the F word that is possible. Like, that was redundant, but you know what I mean. So, just so you know, there's a lot of that going on in this book, and possibly if it hadn't been for the challenge that I was doing with my sister, I may or may not have continued with it because I didn't know much at all about this actress before I started reading the book, or her husband, who is also an actor. So I didn't have that interest level. Mainly it was interesting to me because of her background, having come from the area where I live and where I have lived. And that was a big hook for me. That was very interesting. Plus it was just an interesting story about the farm life, and she had some interesting tidbits, and it was told in very conversational, very readable style, but probably I wouldn't have continued with it just on those reasons alone if it hadn't been for the challenge with my sister. So there's that. I started and made some good progress for 24 hours-ish that I have started with this book. And then there were none by Agatha Christie. So now I am like, the mystery has started. And the first chapter was like introducing to all the characters, which is a little bit overwhelming in this book. I'm glad that she went through in such an organized way, introducing you to all the characters, because I'm constantly flipping back and getting some context clues when they show up in the course of the story. So pay close attention when you're reading it, because those characters are they're the characters that make the story, but they're going to constantly be referred to, and the information that you are given in the very beginning of the first chapter is information you're going to need as the story goes on. But I'm very interested. It's very easy to read. Agatha Christie usually is. If I had more time, I would easily be able to finish it today, which was one of my goals, but I don't have a lot of time today, so we'll see. As I mentioned, I think earlier in this video, I've been so many clips for so many different videos. I don't know what I said when, but I think I said earlier in this vlog that I am giving myself until tomorrow, which is Sunday, to finish all of my February reading. Not that I will count it towards February, like in my reading tracker or anything, but just mentally, that's, kind of like my goal. And the other one that I want to finish primarily is this one, If the Boot Fits by Witemeyer, which I've not even started. But I will start this, if not today, then tomorrow. And I probably won't finish it tomorrow, but I hope to make significant progress. Again, I'm very busy this weekend, and I'm gonna be busy Monday and Tuesday also. So I don't know. The other one that I want to finish early next week, in time for me to read the first 3 chapters of the Power Through Prayer book by Ian Bounds. I want to finish this before I start that. And that is 12 Ways Your Phone is Changing You. This is still on deck, hasn't been cracked open since the last time I mentioned it. And then here's something funny. So I have been buddy reading Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell with Miriam and Kelly. Kelly, bless her heart, is steadily reading in this. Miriam and I have been lagging a little bit. Although the last I checked in, we're in the 20s in a chapter, which is about where you see my bookmark there. And so I'm definitely going to be picking this back up again at a faster pace, hopefully in March, and finishing it in March. But I also have some other chunkers that are happening in March as well. But I do need to finish it before I have to return it to the library. Now, here's the funny story I was going to tell you. So this one I got from the county where I work. That's where I got this copy. And here is one reason why it's very helpful to have an account at multiple library districts if you can. Because I got this at the library of work. It was available almost right away when I put my name in for it. There was one already available for me, so I picked it up. But the absolutely final due date is this week, like on Thursday. And I'm clearly not anywhere near finishing it, and I don't have time to finish it before then. However, at the same time I had put in for that one at that county library, I had also put in, because I wasn't sure which one would get there, at the library where I live. And this one came available to me this past week. And so I can have this one all the way through the month of March. Now, this is a totally different edition, as you can see, and it's paperback. So it's not as pretty or as nice as the other one, but it might be maybe a little bit more readable. Anyway, and it's a little bit more banged up, which is fine. Then I don't feel guilty lugging it around in my bag everywhere. Anyway, so I will be able to finish it, but first I have to match up where I am in this one compared to that one. So to wrap up my overall February reading, as everybody knows, we don't need to beat a dead horse. February was terrible for me in terms of reading and in terms of life, and it was not a good month overall. Things looked up towards the end of the month, like normalized, stabilized, etc. by the middle end of the month, but still it was very, very busy. And this first week of March is very, very busy also. After that, it will slow down a little bit, but right now we're just living in crazy town. So not got a lot of reading done, and I've just been very busy and overwhelmed in my professional life and family life as far as pressure with busyness and schedule, etc., all of that kind of stuff. So I read a grand total of 5 books, which in recent history for me is really not great. The past few years, I've definitely averaged way more than that in a month, but I am thankful that I was able to read what I read. One of the first books I finished, or maybe the first book that I actually finished, was The Unknown Ajax by Georgette Hare. And this one was a little bit disappointing because it didn't have some of the trademark things that I come to expect in a Georgette Hare. Namely, it was not as humorous as some of her others. It had a little bit more of a serious tone to it. And the romance was very minimal in this story. And since I was reading it the week of Valentine's Day and I was looking for something romantic, I was a little bit disappointed in that. But it was just me at the time and place in which I read it and the place where I was mentally. I actually think it's a really good book. Georgette Hare did a great job with this story, but it wasn't what I was expecting. So it kind of fell a little flat for me, to be honest. I also read of Love and Treason by Jamie Ogle, which overall I very enjoyed. And again, that one I wrapped up around Valentine's Day or the week after that. And it was about St. Valentine, obviously. And, well, not obviously, but if you don't know, now you know. And overall, I enjoyed it very much. Had a few little quibbles with it, but it was a very enjoyable read. A historical fiction set in 270 AD in Rome. And overall, a great read. I don't have any major complaints about it, but I enjoyed it overall. And then I also read The Oedipus Plays of Sophocles. Now this went along, well, all of these kind of went along with my challenge to read like other booktubers. Like I know Miriam has read this one and liked it. Actually, now I'm thinking about it, I don't know, that was like 3 weeks ago. I can't remember if she specifically read this one or not. But I do know that that Miriam is a Georgette Hare fan like I am. And so is Molly. So reading like them for that one. And of Love and Treason, I buddy read with Bethany, and Bethany brings books. So reading like her for that one. And this one I was reading like Dia because Dia enjoys ancient Greek literature, and she has read quite a bit of it. Not necessarily recently having read this one, but she has definitely read and enjoyed in the past. So I read The Oedipus Plays of Sophocles. This also goes along with what my son is reading in his literature class for 8th grade. I'm trying to read at least some of what he's reading. He's reading at least portions of the Iliad and the Odyssey. I'm probably not going to get to those this year, but the other shorter works that he is reading from, I do want to read. So, I mean, try to get to the Aeneid also, or parts of it anyway, or a version of it. But this one I definitely read, and I'm so happy to be able to cross it off my list. It was also on my shelf, so that was fantastic. And overall, I enjoyed this. This was a very easy to read. It's not intimidating at all. Now, it's got all sorts of interesting, shocking things that happen, but I already told you all about that, so. And then my favorite read, and my first 5-star of the year. We had to get to the end of February for a 5-star read this year so far. That's what it's been like for me. But you know, I can always count on my girl Jane to deliver. Sense and Sensibility was definitely major 5-star read for me. I loved it so much. I loved it better than the last time I read it. When I read it in 2023, it seemed a little bit, almost exactly 2 years ago, because I read it in February then as well. It seemed to me a little bit heavier, and it is one of Austen's more, she has more of a serious tone to this one. It doesn't have quite as much of her wit and irony and humor that she has in some of hers. She's definitely taking her subject matter a little more seriously, and she's being a little bit more didactic about it than she is in some of her other books. So that I can understand that. I agree with my self 2 years ago about that, but for some reason I enjoyed it so much more this time around. And I'm going to give credit, at least in part, to the annotations by David M. Shapard, who just gave a lot of context for the story and a lot of information that I found really helpful. And I just was much more emotionally invested in Eleanor and Marianne's story this time around, which I don't think you can necessarily to the annotations, because that was more of an intellectual level of enjoyment that possibly increased my actual enjoyment of it. But I really think that being so emotionally invested in the characters, it was just the different frame of mind that I was in. So you never know with a book, like when you hated before, you may love the next time, or you love it one time, you might hate it the next time. There's a lot that we bring to a book when a specific frame of mind that we're in. So anyway, I really enjoyed Sense and Sensibility this time around, much more than I did last time. And I don't know, I honestly don't know where I would be able to rank Austen's books. I just like all of them. And every time I read one, I'm like, oh, this is so good. This is the best book. I love this book. It's amazing. And it's really hard to just rank them like that. So let's see. Bless you. Let me real quick go through my reading journal, which I've not fully updated, but this one I think I have all of the important points updated. So there are my measly little 5 books in February that I read. I did not add any nonfiction. I started one, I didn't finish it. My first 5-star read of the year, Sense and Sensibility. I did not get to any rereads, which is one reason why I really want to read Jack and Jill in March. I did add one to my 50 by 50. The Oedipus Plays were on this list. I don't know, it's not focusing, but the Oedipus plays were on this list. So I have now read 4 out of my 50 by 50. Othello, Dracula, Pamela, and the Oedipus plays. So that's not too bad. However, I'm not doing so great on this. I'm supposed to be reading half of the books that I read from my shelf. So I did better in February because February I only read 5 books, but I actually added 4 to that. So 4 out of those 5 were my own books. However, 6 total for January and February. And I read like 10 books in January or something like that. So, or 9 or 10, whatever. So out of 15 books, 6 of them is not quite half. So I need to read some more books from my shelf. But most of my March TBR is from my shelf. So here's where it starts to get a little ridiculous. My own reading challenge, I haven't finished yet. And I did read the Oedipus plays that also went for Chantel's Read Your Shelf Challenge. And that was size. And so it was a short book. So that one I actually was able to cross off. However, I have not yet read If the Boot Fits by Witemeyer, which is going to be for the Jane Reads Christian Fiction Reading Challenge. And that is for February, a favorite author. I will get that done and I will cross it off that list, but it's not happening right this moment. And so I did read Sensibility, which was, I need to put a little star there, but I read that one for the Jane Austen birthday celebration. And I haven't gone through, I don't think I can add anything new to the United States map. The World Diaries is set mostly in New York, although actually, well, in California, but I have, both of those are already crossed off actually. And Virginia as well. Those 3 places that it's set are already crossed off. I don't think anything else I read was set in the United States. So I couldn't color in anything on that map. And then in the world map, of course, there's England. That's colored in a long time ago, but I was able to add Italy and Greece. Greece because of the Oedipus plays, and Italy because of Love and Treason. And yeah, those are all the settings that I had. So that is what I managed to accomplish, or not, in the month of February and my reading this week, and what I have planned for this coming week, which is March. I need to wrap up all of my February reads and then dive into the March reading. So that was my week. Thank you for coming along with me, and I will see you next time.